Okay, welcome everyone. It always takes a second for everyone to get situated. Okay, I think everybody is in. So Bill, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Bill Cope. I work at the University of Illinois, but I've been with this conference and the Common Ground Project since the conference began, and before that, since the Common Ground Project began. So great to see everybody. And I also particularly want to welcome the people who will be watching this as a recording. So we've got a group of people here who are alive now, but I'm just by way of full disclosure, this session is being recorded. And as I say, I really want to welcome the people who'll be watching this recording afterwards, and somewhat after this session, we'll put the session online. So I'm going to introduce our hosts in a moment, but just a little introduction about the format of the conference. Most of the sessions are asynchronous. So this is a fully blended conference. We would have loved to have been able to be in person. We were hoping that was possible, but this COVID stuff goes on and on and on. Hopefully it's, well, I don't know whether it's getting better or not, but anyhow, we're in it, and we're purely in this online mode. So as I say, nearly all the sessions are asynchronous. We've got about 87, I think is the latest number, Elizabeth, sessions. And I say this, I'm going to say this a couple of times, I'll come back to it later as well. It's, for goodness sake, as you go to those sessions, don't go without leaving a comment. There are some advantages in being online, and that is that everybody in the metaphorical room can make a comment and leave some thing to interact with the presenters. So please go to as many sessions as you can of the 86, 87 pieces of digital media that are there, but always leave a comment, and people really appreciate that. And what it does, it triggers an email. So even if they're not there at that time, it doesn't have to be a live discussion. It's an asynchronous discussion board, and that will remind them, that'll tell them there's a message there and they should come back and talk with you, so to speak. Okay, so we have just a few live sessions in this conference, very few. This is one of them, and it's it replaces, we call it a think and drink session. It replaces the welcome reception that we normally have in an in-person conference. So that's my little kind of introduction about the format, and also so just so we kind of orient ourselves to how the conference works. So welcome everybody. And what we're going to do is now I'm going to hand over to our host and also the network coordinator. After that, I'm going to speak to Rosaria, get her to speak first. And then what I might do is other people in the room, I might get you to briefly introduce yourself after that, and we'll just make this an informal conversation session as if we were really at a welcome reception, as opposed to being in one of these infernal Zoom rooms. So anyhow, over to you, Rosaria. And if you could introduce yourself a little bit, people might know your work terribly well. And thank you for being our virtual host.
Thank you, William. I'm so sad that you can't be here with us, but I guess we have to take the advantage of these possibilities. I was talking to Elizabeth, I think 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about more than 15 countries that were contributing to this conference. So I guess that will be the good part of this experience that COVID has done to us. My name is Rosaura Lopez. I'm from Universidad de Monterrey here in Mexico. We were really excited to have you here, but still things back home are a little bit difficult here to have you all, especially from all the war. And I'm the director of architecture program here in the university. We have more than 600 students right now. And we have been really interested in this type of project for us to have in this Congress. Actually, I'm so happy to have you all. Hopefully you can be here sometime in next year or in 2 years. I will be really happy to have you all. And this is our house, the Centro Roberto Garzazada, done by Tadao Ando. So if anyone anytime comes to Mexico, you are more than welcome to visit the campus. And we're so happy to have you host as a virtual host, but hopefully see you soon in person, okay? Nice to meet you all.
Lovely. And Fabian, would you like to give a little introduction about the work that we do collectively?
Of course, thank you so much, Will. Thank you, Rosario. Thank you, Elizabeth. Welcome, everybody, to this year's conference, the 12th International Conference on the Constructed Environment. A warm hello and welcome from Calgary. That's where I'm currently located. My name is Fabian Newhouse, as has already been introduced. I am the Research Network Chair for the Constructed Environment Series, but I'm also an Associate Professor at the University of Calgary here at the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape. And it's really exciting, this year's topic of the conference, the Constructing New Environments for Living, Work and Play. I think it's a very timely topic to discuss. I mean, obviously there's the standard streams in this conference, but this special topic usually every year really sets the tone for things, and I think it really connects the yearly intervals, the yearly sessions together. So despite all of this being online, I think I just wanted to acknowledge also the traditional territories, wherever you are in the world, and whoever group that might be. Where you are, for me here in Calgary, this is the territory of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. We're in Canada, and this includes the Tsuut'ina First Nation, the Stoney Nakoda, and the Blackfoot Confederacy, and the city of Calgary here is also home to the Métis Nation Region 3. I think this is an interesting aspect, of course, of the built environment in general, but also of our conversations that we hope we'll have during this conference, but also beyond that, of how we relate to the land that we're on and the land that we work with, and what that relationship is, how we built this. So last year we hosted the conference in Calgary here, and the topic was in many ways related to this year's topic, just on a different scale, I would argue. It was building the Anthropocene, and probably some of you have been there. And that sort of directly connected us to this question about the land, and how we're working with the land, and how we're building that relationship from a constructed environment perspective. So, but to this year too, on a smaller scale, maybe in a more intimate, more everyday scale, the topic obviously picks it up and sort of puts that to the foreground. I'm really looking forward to some of those. How many was it? 88 different papers that. And how that topic is being discussed there, and some of the conversations that we will have in the other sessions. I just wanted to point out that we had just published a special issue, which has become a regular issue. But anyway, the Research Network has a journal, and there was an issue published early this year from last year's conference with some of the papers, and I think would be interesting for you guys to maybe catch up on the discussion of last year and sort of carry that into this year's. We have some very interesting papers from the panel sessions and the keynote speakers. There's Elliot Tretter's Petro City. That was a keynote presentation, but also Leroy Littlebear's talk on then the Homo sapiens came on the scene. Leroy is from the local Blackfoot tribe, a scholar, and he presented a keynote at last year's session, which sort of clarified also some of these questions around that relationship with the land, but of course, you know, asked a larger number of questions there as well. We also have in that journal captured the closing remarks that were developed by Elder Gilbert Crowchild at the end of last year's conference. He's from the Tsuut'ina Nation, which is a direct neighbor here of Calgary, the city of Calgary. We have a very good relationship. So those are very interesting sort of collaborations that bring also a kind of an additional new, if you want, perspective to the topic and to the conversations that I think is pretty exciting. And there were several other papers from last year's sessions there on participation, on Indigenous involvement in large energy projects on the land, but also infrastructure in general, and economics even. So there's a broad variety, just like we're seeing this year again in the program. So so that's very exciting, and hopefully we can then of course also put a new issue together from this year's conference, and that to sort of continue that on. I think there's some, I mean, for some of the sessions, I'm also looking forward to have these conversations about the transformation in the constructed environment, if you want, or the built environment. There's quite a lot happening now, obviously with COVID, all of us being online, I guess the third year in a row. So there's big changes in the way we're coming together, in the way we're exchanging, and I'm really so glad that that everybody has made such an effort to stay in touch and to keep this going. So I think this CG research network is more important than ever. It was always exciting to go through the yearly conferences, but it's getting even more important that we sort of share and exchange about the work we do in our basement or wherever we are in our private spaces, and sort of find ways to exchange. I think that's for me at the moment the main excitement about the conference, to meet people and to hear what everybody else is doing. So the big changes in how we address this, I think it's just exciting, even though we can't come down to Mexico, but we're very glad that you guys are hosting this year's conference, and maybe you can at some point give us a virtual tour of that building. Sounds really exciting as a place for the school. So more formally, I guess, from the last year's team, 2021, the 11th conference in Calgary, formally, I can hand it over to you, Rosaria. Thank you so much for taking this on. This comes from myself and my co-host last year, David Montaigne. We hosted the Calgary conference together, so we're formally handing this over to you. Thanks for taking it on, and many thanks for the excellent preparations on this. Big thanks to the University of Monterrey, of course, for hosting this virtual conference, but also many big thanks to the CG Research Network, who has been working behind the scenes essentially throughout the year to make this happen. So thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Phil Tamsin in the background. Awesome work that brings us together every year. So I'm really looking forward to this year's program and some of the conversations. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Fabian. Again, it's wonderful that you and Rosaria have been involved in this way and put so much effort into getting us to this point. You mentioned you know, the work in previous conferences. And thank you, Elizabeth, for putting in that link to the journal. As part of the conference or the network participation, you're being part of the conference and being a member, you have access to all the body of knowledge that's been built over the last 11 years with the journal and with the book series. So you can see there that we have something like 500 articles that have been published and half a dozen books. They're all accessible here in electronic format. And one of the things we ask people is to use this resource. You know, we've been building up this body of knowledge around these important themes for quite some time now. And if you can all be sure to use this resource and cite it in the academic world, acknowledgement of the influence of ideas is around citations. So if you can sort of, as part of this community, if you can use that work and cite it as well, that would be wonderful. And also what we're hoping is that the papers that are here now as conference presentations, that people will write them up, and we have a peer review community as well, where the body of knowledge is very much not just the work of the authors that are named, but the collaborations around the peer review process, which for us is very much focused on supporting feedback. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is the other folks who are here in the room, I'm just going to invite you if you'd like to do a quick introduction. And if you've got a session in the conference, some people are simply participating as viewers, if you like, of the digital material, but some people are presenting as well. As we go around, Elizabeth will put the link to your presentation in the chat box. So look, I'm going to just go around and name people according to my tiles, my Zoom tiles. The next Zoom tile I have is Carlos. Carlos, would you be able to introduce yourself briefly?
Sure.
All right.
Carlos, I don't think you have your microphone on. If you want to just do a quick introduction. And do we have a paper there, Elizabeth? Oh, there we go. Excellent. So Carlos, I can see yours is on urban geographies and socio-spatial segregation in Monterey. So this is from the host city. So
Yes. Hello,
okay,
everybody.
So,
Okay,
hi there. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Carlos Aparicio. It's the fourth time that I am in a CGP conference. I was in some sustainability conference in January and many years ago. And this year, I met Philippe in Granada, and he told me our next conference is in Monterrey. I was really excited in that moment, and I invited one of my students to present with me in this conference. So I would like to meet you in person here in Monterrey, but I think that Rosaura and all the teams of the universities of Monterrey and Nuevo León can receive you in the future. Believe me, it's an interesting city, and you can find many things, many friendly people here. Thank you very much, even if it's a virtual conference. I'm very excited to meet this group of researchers from CGP. Thank you.
Wonderful. And I can see that already we're on just beginning the conference, and you've had 53 engagements on your page already, which is wonderful. So we're kind of hoping that this this format is genuinely engaging. Sometimes in-person conferences have their disadvantages, so we're hoping to make the most of the advantages as well of being virtual. So that's wonderful. Okay, now the next one that I have going across my Zoom tiles is Luis Carlos.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luis Carlos Mestrino. I'm a PhD candidate at School of Architecture, Art and Design here at Guimarães, University of Minho. And I'll be presenting this year a paper that I wrote recently about the role of public aquatic spaces and their contribution to the reconnection of the city, and the rescue of the social, ecological, and urban connection for within this context of this public aquatic spaces. And I was astonished how convenient was the theme of this year of this conference, that deals with the new environments to live, work, and play. And my paper goes exactly in the research on how these playful spaces can have an amplified dimension. I tackled this dimension, ecological dimension, for the urban biodiversity conservation agenda, and it's quite interesting because recently people have noticed how these green areas, open spaces, can have this role for mental health, for health of people, and so there are these dimensions that are not really acknowledged from the beginning, and then we started to study how important these other dimensions can be also important. So I invite you to participate in this session. Thank you.
Wonderful, and it absolutely lines perfectly with the conference themes this year. So wonderful and welcome. Great to have you here, Luis Carlos. And the next person I have going around my Zoom tiles is Reza. How are you, Reza?
Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good. This is Reza Foroughi. I am an assistant professor at Appalachian State University in the state of North Carolina in the United States. This is my fourth time I'm participating in this conference. The first one was in 2014 at the University of Pennsylvania, UPenn. The second one was in Portugal. We had so much fun. Fabian knows about that. So yeah, and I mean, the third one was at the University of Calgary, which was online. And this is the fourth one I'm participating. I have a paper here. My graduate students and I worked on a cost-benefit analysis for BIPV systems, building integrated photovoltaic for commercial building facades. Very nice to meet you all.
Wonderful. And in terms of the connection between the built environment and the other environment, what an incredibly important issue that is as well. So welcome. It's great to have people coming back year after year, and still to be persisting despite this, you know, us being separated in space the way that we are. And I see there 52 engagements, so amazing, incredible. So please, folks, keep that engagement going. And as I say, at the risk of being repetitive, don't leave a session without leaving a comment. The more substantial and the comment, the more it will be appreciated by the presenters and the other people who are in that conversation. So I can see now that we've just got another person joining. Welcome, Fatima. How are you? Fatima, just to give you a quick introduction, we've been introducing each other to ourselves. You know, welcome to the conference. I won't repeat everything I've said before, but Fatima, given that you've just come, would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Thank you, everybody. I'm a little late because I lost the track of time. I'm Fatima Chana from Bangladesh. And what else? And I'm working as a judge of Bangladesh. I think I have attended so many conferences, so I think Elizabeth also knows me about. Yeah. So I'm going to. Sorry.
Go on, yes. Yes, go
on. I'm going to present a paper on the land rights of indigenous community, the way towards food sovereignty and climate change adaptation in Bangladesh. So, because recently I've worked on a project, so I've learned so many things from this. So I'm going to present this, and hopefully see you. And thank you very much.
Wonderful. Welcome. It's great to have you joining us from Bangladesh. And again, another remarkably important topic in terms of the bigger frame of reference with environments and Indigenous communities. So thank you very much for that. Now, folks, does anybody have any comments or questions? Elizabeth, is there anything that I should have mentioned that I failed to mention? The plenaries, maybe what you should do is, do you have the the links to the plenaries there as well? So the plenaries are live, and it's great if you can turn up, but what we've discovered is that most people don't turn up for the live sessions, but we do get a lot of interaction around the recording. So our procedure for the plenaries is, you know, we present live, so be there if you can, but then we put the recording up and there can be ongoing conversation around the recording. We try and get that up as soon as we can afterwards. There it is there. And I might say as well that, you know, sometimes there are things that happen in these sessions which are very, you want to come back to and think about later. Well, having the recordings is really helpful. So what we do is we turn off the discussion boards after a while, but we leave the recordings there accessible for you forever. So if in a year's time you think, oh, what did that person say in that talk? You can go back to the talk there and see the presentations. So they're the online engagement sessions. Do we have the other? Oh, I say day one, the plenaries. I'm just looking at them there. Yeah, okay. You got to take the tabs for those. Okay, so there's the sessions which are, yeah, you can see which ones are synchronous, which ones are asynchronous there. Oh, there's the conference schedule. Thank you very much for putting all that in, Elizabeth. I'm sure everyone is perfectly capable of finding this themselves, but sometimes having a direct link is a way to remind you of things. All right, any comments or questions, folks? Anything you need to know? So look, I might give the last word to Fabian and then to Rosario. Fabian, a last word before we finish this session.
Yeah, just thank you everybody for participating and sharing and entering the discussion with everybody else. So that really is quite exciting and brings our field forward. I think there's lots of stuff that we have to tackle. There's many areas that need new big ideas. And I think through these conversations we can develop some sort of direction. So it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to diving into the content.
And then Rosario for the last word, but also what I wanted to do before the second last word is to thank Kayla and Elizabeth for all the incredible amount of work they've done. There's a lot of background work to pull this stuff together. So thank you very much for our Common Ground colleagues. So the very last word to you, Rosario.
Well, thank you. I'm honored. Actually, thank you, Elizabeth, Kayla, for all the work. We have been working really hard for, I think, more than a year and a half. So between all the chaos of COVID and all these things, thank you for all the effort. Thank you to everyone for having the time to research, to write, to discuss. And I guess these are really important issues that we need to address in many different perspectives. Also taking advantage that we are talking about this globally. And we have to make an effort to join forces to make a difference in our built environment. And I'm so excited to see as many as presentations that I can, because there are so many, and also that makes me really happy for all the participation. And again, I will send Elizabeth a link so you can have a virtual tour for the CGS. And the invite is still open for any time and any year that you can be here with us at UDEM. So it's really nice to see you all.
Thank you very much and have a wonderful conference, everybody. Bye then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.